And in the dead of the night, I lie awake and alone. Hey, hi, and welcome back to another haphazard recording. I am your non-playing violinist, Lance Renard, and I've just taking this up. It's kind of fun. Somebody gave it to me for a payback. And so, if you guys haven't lived life long enough to have somebody fold their arms and look at you and say, you know how much your liver's worth to me? Well, then you haven't lived. And I have. And it's $10,000, by the way. And my answer to that 320-pound massive guy just south of Amarillo, Texas, with his 4 henchmen surrounding me with their blades out, asking me how much my liver is worth. My question to him was, do you know what your GPS coordinates are? Because my special ops team does. And so these are the ways of the haphazard universe. And I have a lot of interesting stories to tell. I began or have begun to tell some and pulled those videos. And I apologize because I open up a little too much. People that know me know my medications make things a little difficult for me to be normal, as you might say. But I have a lot to offer, a lot to give, and a lot to discover. And let's go ahead and do that together. Thanks for playing along this far. And now to our first issues. One of those initial issues, actually, if you look at all of my videos, or any and all of my videos, I somehow say, or commonly will say, how things are interrelated and all things are connected, and they are. They absolutely are. Those who are esoteric and exoteric even, one being a hidden whatever. I'll put the definitions up. But when you cover different issues, people on YouTube often will put up this elaborate presentation and take an hour and a half to say something that I will convey to you in a fraction of a second. If I ask you to picture a dime, can you see a dime, yes or no? That isn't up to me. I don't live your reality, and some people, unfortunately, fortunate or unfortunate, have decided that they can't see a dime and don't dream at all. And these are issues that I'm not going to necessarily cover. What I will cover, though, is looking at that picture. What you're looking at when you're looking at it, of course, is something that you've created. And I covered a little bit in meditation on the last one to be able to differentiate for you in your own world, to, like, when you're in a dream, you're differentiating in your dream. You don't know most of the time that you're dreaming. If you are aware enough to understand that you're dreaming while you're dreaming, after you get accustomed to that and playing around with it enough, you decide, or I decided, just to let things go and quit trying to control things. But it is fun to experiment with exercising that control in your dreams, and also going through hours and hours of meditation to find out the differences from your inner and exterior. We are trained to continuously make noise, and always be thinking, to always be creating pictures and images. And in the meditation of being, in just being that I mentioned and pulled that video, it is a matter of essentially desensitizing your spirit to the degree, or yourself to the degree, that you come to know yourself. The old adage, to learn you must first unlearn. Well, to teach, then I must first unteach. You desensitize yourself in being, just to be and only be, without any exterior influences of senses, dealing with smell. It's like in a dream. In a dream, you're aware of the motions that are happening around you. You're aware of the temperatures, whether or not the wind is blowing, whether it's a sunny day and you can feel the heat of the sun. The smell, is there a smell of lavender or cinnamon? There are so many different perceptions and senses over the fundamental, seeing, smelling, tasting, and hearing. You have so many other senses that we are aware of as a spiritual being. And to understand that we are a spirit and have a body is another thing. That, I mean, people to argue that issue, really. If you're driving a car, you're going to argue the fact that you're driving a car. I don't get that, but that's just me. In my humble opinion, I will not be addressing those details. The important thing is what you're going to be able to use, what you're going to be able to use, period. I can tell you from my extreme experience and my ability to, the thing is, once you've done something enough times, it becomes self-evident for you. You don't have to try to convince anyone else of your self-evidence. It's yours. And so many people do that. I have found that I don't actually, if you want to consider, the manipulation of things around you in the universe, I have been gifted. I've been extremely gifted. And people always equate that to whether or not you're wealthy or whether or not you've got this or have that. And that's okay. Yeah, you have that right. Put down the gavel and take off the wig and black cloak, though, in many cases. Because when you're observing something, you're simply doing that. Or if you're writing a book on something, like if I write a book on spiders, it doesn't make me a spider. If I write a book on Kabbalism, that doesn't make me a Kabbalist. It's a matter of study, information, knowledge, technology, and conveyance of that technology or information. And that is what the world is about. I found that in my conveyances 30 years ago, I am 63 years old. I know you go, 63, 3 6s, and the guys, hey, forget about it. I was born in 55. It's not my fault, okay? Get a gun, hunt me down. As a matter of fact, I should put in my mailing address. The only reason I don't is because other people live in this place that I tend to and care for, and thus my lack of time. So I hope this brief description has given you some information about me. I apologize for the shaking table. I am, once again, for the 150th time, still quite a rookie. And I believe this equates to my 55th recording when I subtract the ones that I just recently deleted. And so in this particular image, I'm going to bring up video. And so in this particular video, I'm going to bring up some of what we talked about in the past, some of the important details in our grounding, in architecture. I love to look at statues and curiosities, and we're going to be looking at some pillars. And people go, oh, symbolism, pillars. Yeah, well, they're just pretty pillars, all right? And I'm a wood carver, and I do so many different traits and crafts throughout my life, throughout my many, 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 many years. You can put it in dog years, it's like, 300 and, 400 something, that's a lot. Alrighty then. Okay, let's get on to our first part of this essay, and I'm not going to get too philosophical, and I know Jane Doe out there, this should be called the Jane Doe channel, by the way. Wants me to rush it up because we haven't got much time and Mother Earth is going to swallow us up, essentially. And I am not scoffing at that one bit. I do have a different perspective on us. I think we are more like little ants, mites, in relation to the size of this place we live in. And that's evidenced by, just go to Google Earth and zoom in on the many high altitude shots that they have taken with their technologies. And to argument technologies too. You know what, guys? The important thing is you, your soul, and how you handle the universe and how you're able to control things in your universe. And I'm here to assist with that. And it's not in any devious way. I've had people put in my comments, oh, no, I know why you're here, No, you don't. Okay, why I'm here, I was watching YouTube videos on Xfinity and my whatever I got tired of Netflix. Actually, I think I've seen everything there. I like to watch everything. And I got tired of it, and I started watching YouTubes and thinking, you know what? I could convey that information much more thoroughly without all the stammering and the time gaps. And in about 15 to 20 minutes, where the video I just watched took an hour and a half, and the first 20 minutes he was explaining about how he's going to explain. I hope I haven't done that in this. I hope my content in conversation has been interesting enough for you to be riveted to the edge of your seat. And there's a lot more to come up. But to get over the predetermined senses that you think are so important when you see a bunch of circles and you think, oh my God, that's satanic. Well, see, whatever you've been taught is part of the issue here with truthers. You need to question everything, gang. We need to question everything. You want to question me? Fine. That's fine. That's what we're here for. But to think I've been set out here by some exterior force to come and recruit you into our legion or some weird crap like that. Now, I put what I created away for 20 years before. I wasn't going to show it to anybody ever. And then I had kids, and I thought, well, you know what? That would be something I could give to them as a legacy, because the government has taken my legacy away, and I need to reciprocate. It's, vengeance is not, I'm very big on staying away from the 7 deadlies, and to consider this has a lot to do with my abilities and pride. But at the same respect, my responsibilities are stimulated because of the response that I've gotten. And also the predetermined negativity and judgment that people have given I said it hasn't surprised me one bit. It has absolutely been expected. So to keep from rambling too long or too far, I'm going to go through a few details. Hopefully I will not pull this video due to it's a lack of experience on my part. When I see something enough times, I determine whether or not I like it and pull it for whatever reasons that may be. And the closer they are to my heart, the more likely I'm going to pull it. So I apologize to my subscribers that have left comments on videos that I have pulled. And hopefully I won't be pulling them as much. Thanks for your time. And so, to carry on with the haphazard tradition, I'm going to incessantly ramble and babble, get myself positioned where I'm not in the way, and hop right into what I'd like to talk about, or to start to talk about today. And that is planetariums. And how planetariums, they're interesting places. They're fascinating. And the way that they are constructed with this dome and the... if you've ever sat in a planetarium, it is absolutely absolutely impossible. Easy for you to say. Well, it's like looking at the stars on any given day. And the agendas, of course, you can see in these, like this image here, which I'll go ahead and save. The agendas. And I'm not going to get into the space agenda. The reason I brought up planetariums here, and it's not about the flat earth agenda either, even though this is extremely similar to, and it's not about the flat earth agenda either. It's about looking at something through a dome, or vis-a-vis looking at a dome, and looking at what appears to be in the from the dome. You go, well, this guy's got to be talking flat earth. No, I'm talking about the inner spiritual realm and what you are looking at when you look at your memories. If you look at this dome as alright, and now if you take this dome and you look at each one of the stars, let's say it's hard, how do I describe this? This one is a little difficult to describe, and the reasoning being, what I am actually describing to you is how you know what you know. If you look at each one of these stars, so here's a pretty good example, this one right here. Some people look up at the stars and they see these patterns in the stars because they have trained on, how the specific patterns are put together. And you can look up and say, well, there's Pisces, there's Cancer, there's Scorpio, because there's the tail, and there's the Big Dipper, and that is because now other people can't do that. In other words, some people have trained on looking at the patterns and understanding these patterns. And it is that training, how do I put this? This is, once again, I have mentioned this is difficult to state. The most simplistic way to state this is everything you have learned in your life is etched into your dome. And so essentially you are sitting in a planetarium, and when I ask you to think of something like, oh, the year World War II ended, you would look at your dome and that number would appear. Some people would see the number that appears, and other people would go, I'm not sure. And what I am conveying here as far as information is whenever you remember something, your memories are etched into your dome. And this is the way that I see things, but this is the way that they actually work quite well. If this viewpoint is attained because you are sitting in your own little planetarium, when you go to sleep at night, this dome changes and turns into a surrounding environment we call a dream. And that is why I'm bringing up planetariums, is because we are each sitting in our own planetarium. And what we are able to see as descriptions are what we have memorized in our lives. Or what you might say, what we've found important is what we've etched into our dome in our own little planetarium. So this is why I'm bringing up planetariums. And this is the idea that I would like to convey in everything that I do. This particular idea is in mind because you determine what's important for yourself. I don't. I just bring up some information that could be interesting or possibly even fascinating. And here, somebody suggested I get on with it and start talking about reality. And I think planetariums are extremely fascinating in the way that they relate to us and how we learn and how we remember things. What do you have etched into your dome? And this is where we find our power, is what we've determined to etch into each of our domes is our, what we call our knowledge, each individual's knowledge. And so, yeah, that's one of the things that I'm bringing up here in the relations between buildings and people. And so I like to show how things are interrelated and connected in so many different ways. So, guys, I've got a little bit more here. I'm going to save these images to use. And let's get on with our next part of the issue. I've decided I'm going to go ahead and have a live interview and arrange actually a couple of different interviews. I don't know if I'm centered on the camera because this thing doesn't anyway, you think, hey, you're not going wholly on me, are you? No, I'm actually going to show you what I will be doing tomorrow is hunting these. I know a place in Minnesota where you can pick up cross stones or Staurolite. I think it's Staurolite. Let's see here. What's the name of these stones? Crystallite, rocks. Here we go. Yes, Staurolite, healing crystal. I'll be picking these up tomorrow because I know of a location where they happily come to the surface every spring, along with a variety of other gemstones. So I'll be doing a live podcast from there, and that'll be fun. And, big surprise, I will be with my son, one of my sons. And we are all three going to be getting together for the first time in our lives. My sons will meet each other at the end of June. And I'm sure I will, given the interest, post that. Unbelievably cool. One of them is just turned 20, and the other one is 25. Both from different mothers. And so, I'm meeting up with Peter tomorrow, and we are going to hunt cross stones and gemstones at a pretty little creek, at a nook in the crook. Place I was given, I don't remember who gave me the location, but yeah, it's a unique place. You'll be able to tell when I take that podcast. So I wanted to show you the next thing that I'll be doing. Getting into the cross stones and digging through the dirt like a good mud fossiler should. And I'm going to be checking out all the mud fossils out there too. You know, there are a boatload. And yeah, we'll see what we find. I like finding things spur of the moment, top of the line. Good day to you. And so I think I might have a little more. No, I'm probably going to have to cut this one off. But within the short period of time that I have played this game, you determine whether or not you have found anything interesting or informative, or this time it wasn't that funny. I apologize for that. I'd like to be a lot funnier. So let's all be positive and creative, and at least take things with a huge block of salt for now, gang. Thanks for the subscriptions, and I'll talk to you soon.